All right,
Oh, no,
everybody,
wait.
welcome to.
Sorry.
Okay, now welcome to the latest edition of Daily Gooner Pod. Joining you from the United States, I'm Raf. Joining me from London this week, two members of the usual suspects. To my left, above me on your screen is Sam. Welcome back, Sam.
Hello, mate. Hope everything's good.
It's good. It's good to be back, and of course, to his right, upper corner on your screen, MJ. Again, MJ, welcome back. I'm happy to be back with you guys.
How's it going? You doing okay?
I'm doing well. I think we're all doing well. Topic of the week,
Yes.
obviously, if you've seen the headline, Jorginho the Hero. Now, we're going to single him up, but this week, who wasn't the hero? Arsenal rebounded in dramatic late fashion with a win. What looked like points that were slipping away up at Villa Park after, of course, the disappointment against City, where they conceded too late. In this match, Arsenal get too late in injury time. Curbed their slide. 4 matches without a victory. Minimal points, only I think 1 point in the league, courtesy of that awful non-call against Brentford. MJ, let's begin with you. Is this, I think everybody exhaled. Everybody hopes that this is the turnaround, that this is just a bad patch put behind them. It's hard to dampen the enthusiasm. I think
Yeah, if there's going to be a way to lift that entire club and the squad back up, it's kind of in this manner, in winning with 2 last-minute goals. And it kind of went exactly how I think many of us probably thought. The first 50 minutes, it's kind of like drab. Maybe it's not going to go our way. Early kickoff as well. I think we played City the previous Wednesday, didn't we? Late evening. So first game of the weekend, like it's only going to go well, isn't it? But so just checking the door there. It went. If we're gonna get out of the slump with the few games that we've had and find that sort of care package, that kind of boost that the team needs in terms of the mentality, it's going to be a last minute goal. But I think you could see in the second half when the players came back on the pitch, and you could see a different type of intensity. And I think one of the quotes that Mikel Arteta, I think apparently allegedly said was, this game is going to be, it's either now or never. Like, this is going to be the moment where we're going to either know if we're going to be there till the end or not. And there's still plenty of ups and downs to come now to the end of the season. We're probably going to drop some really strange points somewhere at home. Maybe City drop a load of points somewhere. So this won't be the final sort of bump in the road. There's still a few more games, especially as European football's coming back. But what a way to do it, man! I mean, I was in the car when with the radio on, and the first 45 minutes I could picture exactly what was happening just from the commentary on its own. And I've caught up with everything now. So going 1-0 down, great, knew it. 1-0, great response. Bukayo Saka again with his mentality is just dragging us through this, isn't he? Couldn't go on better. And then the City result made it even better as well. I mean, that was going to be a bonus, whatever happened in the City game, but that's a nice little bonus as well from that. So overall, a really good weekend and a title recharge, maybe, if you want to say.
Sam, I was thinking about the second half, and obviously we had two teams, right? The first half, we're going to talk about some of the loose ends that have kind of sprung out, especially on the defensive side. But going in down a goal, very disappointing, especially in light of the previous results. There's a lot of doom and gloom, especially if you were following the match, if you were chatting with friends on social media at the half. But as MJ said, they tighten it up in the second half. Now, I'm gonna pound something off you because I've seen discussions of, well, they it was 4-2, in winning, as MJ said, winning in this way, in some ways was better than a solid, say, 3-0. That was a question that was posed to the players and Mikel after the match by the commentators. But as I rewatched it, I was looking at the second half where Odegaard had a sublime half, passing the ball, controlling the action, but of course he missed that sitter after Eddie snatched the ball away in the 77th minute. That could have been the game winner. And of course, a few minutes earlier, about 10 minutes earlier, Odegaard had put Eddie through on this just sublime weighted ball that led him around Emi Martinez, and then he just chips it too hard. And I'm thinking to myself, and I'm going to pose the question to you, had they scored those 2 goals, we would have said, 4-2, the result that we got. They probably would have brought Rob Holding in and frozen it out, and we would still be talking about a 4-2 win. But to win this way, where they have to not only beat Villa, but they have to overcome themselves. I think that's the part that gets me. It's like we know with a young team, so much of it is confidence, but I'm wondering if that element is going to be a fuel for them.
Yeah, I think given that Erdegaard chance, I was like, when that came and went, I was like, that's us probably gone from this game. Going to probably see out a draw. But do you know what I really like is the way that we made vertical passes out through the back, through Ramsdale, through Jorginho. We didn't faff out or try and go to the wing, come back to the middle, go back out to the wing. It was 2 vertical passes, get into their final third, hitting them in, because we know Villa are a team that have got issues when it comes to holding on to leads. They can give away goals. And sometimes we see Arsenal play that pretty football where it just doesn't quite click, and we're waiting for that person to have that shot from outside of the box. And then Jorginho arrives, and boy, that's not something I thought he had in his locker. But he sure proved me wrong. And cherry on the cake, Martinez giving us a little cheeky header for the OG there. But yeah, in terms of our build up to that goal, I thought that it was sublime. And you know what? I think the way that we're able to very our build up play is a big plus, because it doesn't allow teams to sit in and settle. There's always that little angst of, what are they going to do now? Are they going to cut in? Are they going to take a long shot? Are we well positioned? Do we need to come out a bit further? So it poses questions to the opposition. And then obviously on the break, Vieira threading through to Martinelli. Nice cheeky flap out there for the celebration to make it 4-2. But do you know what? I think in terms of the result, scoring them 2 late goals, that's going to be an absolute confidence boost. And people may come back to this, they may not. But that's a kind of result of champions, because you're looking like you're dead and buried, and then you just go and pull 2 goals out of nowhere, and that's the type of games that win you championships.
And I want to pick up on that because it feels like so long ago, but it was only, I think, 2.5 weeks ago when they beat United. When the Jorginho goal went in, and it was clear, especially when Martinelli taps in the dagger and it's over. We look at this and I think you said it in the group, this is the exact thing. This is the win of champions. And then I go back to the last win where Eddie gets that kind of side heel off the pass right in injury at the beginning of injury time. And when you see a title season, when you see a championship drive for a trophy, there's always not just one moment, but usually several moments like that along the way. And I'm starting to add it up, I think, and I would go back further. There was another late win earlier in the season, and these are signs to me. I mean, having seen it with other clubs, other sports, that you always go back at the end and say, they did it consistent. They had magic consistently. And to me, these are like 2 magical moments just this month, which is supposed to be a difficult month. MJ, I want to spin on that in that not only was it just magic, but what Sam was talking about, the aggression. I was watching last night. Somebody posted a clip of the build up to Jorginho's goal, and it started with, as it Ramsdale to Jorginho, long pass to Jorginho, long pass to Odegaard, to Saka, and then they reversed it very quickly. It's like 5 passes. They've cut you up one side, then they're up on the other side. Villa just drops back and packs the box, and so Jorginho's like, I'll take it. And Martinelli, to his credit, didn't try to I'm going to win it. I'm going to try. He's like, okay, here's my guy. Here's a pass. And this is the kind of thing Thomas Partey has been scoring with magic goals like that. And Jorginho has no no question, no doubt, like, give it to me, I'll take it. He wanted to take it, and we think earlier in the match, who scored the tying goal was Zinchenko, and
Mhm.
first goal for us, first goal in the Prem, I believe. And let's go back 2-3 matches. He's been shooting a lot. And he's not been the best shooter. He's looked like Thomas Partey of last year, where he was spraying the ball everywhere. And there are moments where I got really frustrated with this guy. I said, why is he taking it upon himself? I see he's central. He's in a position where he's going to get the ball a lot, right on the edge of the box, and he's going to have chances, but he's not a scorer. Why is he taking the ball when, a forward could be taking it, or Odegaard could be taking it? But when this moment came off the corner, he saw an opening, and that was a cold-blooded shot.
Yeah, and with the Zinchenko goal, I saw something earlier with the I think it was the behind the goal angle. I think it was Ben White and Zinchenko. They were both covering the edge of the box for the equalizer, and I think Zinchenko said to Ben White, "Oh, sorry, the other way around." Ben White said to Zinchenko, "You go pick it up," because that entire second half, every corner was a short corner. I don't think we did any long ball in. So the strategy of the corners was, we're going to keep doing this because they're not going to be able to defend this every single time. And Zinchenko picked it up, and it's probably because he was capable of getting a shot in or maybe a cross or whatever. But I think with all the goals that we've scored with these edge of the box, the system is so fluid that we're able to churn out these positions that either Partey, Jorginho, or someone alternative is always going to pick up that position. If everyone's going to be defending so far back into their own box, especially in these second halves that we're getting, where we're fully suffocating these teams in when we're chasing a winner, I think these teams, they hate having to defend that, and they're all just going to send everyone back. They're going to have bodies behind the ball, and there's always going to be that space on the edge of the box. And it is very interesting to see how, like as you say, Partey's shooting has got a lot better. He's getting a lot more goals now. Jorginho, I don't think I've ever seen him do that for Chelsea. Maybe there is a good example, but he's been encouraged to do that now. And I saw a few Chelsea comments earlier on the timelines where they all said the same thing. Like, I've never seen Jorginho do that for Chelsea, but that's all probably down to a systemic approach. And for Jorginho, he trusts his own technique. He's a very technical player. And for the own goal, just to comment on that, the kind of luck for that own goal, that could have bounced absolutely anywhere, but it decided to just hit Martinez and go towards the goal. I mean, that's the kind of luck that you just hate other
He's
teams getting.
falling forward. It was, if you just see it from the end, it looks like a perfect header. Like he was fed the ball by Jorginho and he just smashed it in. So, right, what are the odds, right? You probably couldn't replicate that if you tried it 100 times.
No, and if you were to hit the crossbar 100 times, how many of those would go in from bouncing off the? You never know. But the whole shooting outside the box, we've been seeing Zinchenko do it. I think with Zinchenko in the Everton one, that might have been, actually no, you're right. That was a really good corner tactic as well, because that was a lovely little pass across, and Zinchenko just didn't get his technique right, and it went over. So I think we're seeing a lot more of that. If we're not going to score goals from the wide areas inside the 6-yard box, then we've created a new channel there to get it out to someone on the edge. And a player like Jorginho, Partey, these guys are clever enough to know their positions, and then if they can get the technique right, they'll either wrap their foot around it or get a good enough technique behind it that they have a pretty high shot probability, or at least on target. But I think we'll see more of these. The more these teams are more low block, and if we're ever chasing in game, that's probably going to be a space to keep an eye on going forward.
All right, now Sam, let's go the early part of the game, and let's talk about something that may or may not be a concern. So I'm gonna pose it to you. Arsenal last season was airtight off corners, off opposition corners. We saw them give up the deciding goal up at Everton, where Odegaard was just kind of overpowered defending the back post on a corner. They didn't concede this time, but they've looked shakier, at one of their strengths. And we saw a couple of goals where both of Villa's goals came on long balls or counterattacks, where positionally guys got out of position, guys seemed to kind of lose themselves. You could see Arteta was frustrated because that's not the Arsenal we've seen up to this point. Is this a concern for you?
I wouldn't say it's more of a concern. I would say that their first goal for me was a real disappointment, because the way that Zinchenko did lose it, and obviously he redeemed himself with a goal. But the way that he lost it, and then just allowed the runner to cut across him and get away from him, to then play the big diagonal ball up to Ollie Watkins. I just felt in one thing that Mikel Arteta's teams have always done, or even when he was at Man City under Pep, was the little tactical fouls. And Zinchenko being under that regime, it was a little bit disappointing to allow. I can't remember who it was that done the big diagonal. Might have been Buendia.
It's Matty Cash that took the ball from him.
Yeah, Matty Cash then to do that big diagonal. Just bring him down in their half. I doubt the referee would give you a yellow. Well, actually, I'll say that you're an Arsenal player, so you're definitely getting a yellow. Pick up the yellow card and then go from there. And then the second part of that goal is Saliba coming across. Positioning, yes, was good, but when it comes to the point of the crunch to making that challenge, it was just a little bit too slow. Their second goal, it was, to be fair, it was very good football. I think they did get a bit lucky with that, considering it went. I believe it went through Xhaka's legs in the box, and then Ramsdale, he's trying to anticipate, but it's one of them ones. Having watched it back, I think that he could have taken a fraction longer, given it was falling to Coutinho, who we know is a really good striker of the ball. See which side he's going, because I believe it was Gabriel was covering the side that Ramsdale dived anyways. But yeah, it's one of them ones. It didn't look nice all round from an Arsenal perspective, but from a Villa perspective, that was a very good team goal. Am I looking at that as a worry? No, it's football. It happens. But as we always say, it comes down to the finer points, and it's them little fine points we need to tune out of this system. But ultimately, I don't think it's a cause to concern at the moment. It was just one of them games. You could see that we was off from the start, and then we really just grew into the game. Years gone by, it would have been taken away from us. But with this team, they've got that belief to keep going to the end. They've got that desire, that hunger to win, and I'm going to chalk it down to a bad day at the office, but not too much to be concerned about at the moment.
All right. MJ, first goal conceded, rapid response within 5 minutes. Arsenal are level. Just heady play by Bukayo Saka, 9th goal of the season. As you said, he's been carrying this club of late. Just does not shrink from the challenge when his team knows that they need him. The attack is going through him. It's very right-sided at the moment. We'll talk about that. What can you do to change to bring? We've talked about Martinelli. We've talked about putting Trossard in. We'll talk a little bit about that combo in a moment. But Saka's carrying the attack at the moment. Something that is a concern for me, looking especially at these last two matches, City and then Villa, is the degree to which the opposition, we've seen them bracket him early in the season, where he gets the ball and two defenders close on. They say, we're not going to let you go outside. One takes him outside. One tries to cut off his cut inside. But now, starting with Silva in the City match, it's open season on him now. They said, we're going to dare the referee to card us. And if he beats me, I'm going to hit it. I'm going to cut him. If he gets around me, I'm going to pull him down. And the abuse, there was 2 or 3 times in the match where he's had to get attention, and you worry about the accumulation of those. He's a tough guy, but he's absorbing a lot of punishment right now.
Yeah, he is, and he's having to count them and point to the referee. That's 2 or 3 or whatever. He's literally telling the ref, this is how many times this guy's got me, or this team has got me now. And I think the discussion to protect not just him, but all the players, if there's a pretty good player that is attracting attention, it's more for the safety of the game, isn't it? He's become a target. It's for a lot of teams having to just bring him down in an aggressive manner. I wonder if because of all the PR and the noise that's sort of slowly growing, they're now intentionally saying, look, you can take him, just take a yellow card or whatever, just bring him down a bit. But fair play to Bukayo, the amount of knocks and hits that he's getting, because his mentality is very strong and solid. I was kind of worried that he was going to go off in the second half. I thought maybe it might have been one too many for him. But he sort of dropped onto the pitch in the second half, and I think he went off to get a real wrap on around his foot. And I thought, oh, man, maybe he'll do 5-10 minutes, and then he'll probably sort of complain about the whatever damage bruise he's got. And hopefully he's doing okay now. I don't think we've heard anything come out of the club.
No,
But
thankfully.
for Bukayo, his mentality to sort of take it, and he's probably one of the bravest players that I've probably seen in modern times. Like, to also have a penalty kick miss at the age that he was for your country, to come back from that, he's come back from great things. So things like this, it's just going to be part of his own journey. He knows that he's going to be a target, but he's also too good to skip around it. And that's the only way they can bring him down. But protection, it's a theme from back in the Wenger days, when we've asked refs for a little bit more protection, because eventually someone's going to mistime a tackle on Saka. It's going to be studs in, it's going to be too high around his shin or whatever, because he's skipped around him, and whatever angle that tackles come in might be a leg breaker. So they've got to really keep an eye on that, I think. But he's one of the bravest players I think that I've seen in the club in a probably a long time. So he's going to rack up those fouls one stats pretty soon. He's going to be tying Jack Grealish for that. But yeah, let's see.
All right, now, as I said, we're going to look at the other side. And one of the as Arsenal's become really Saka-sided, Odegaard Saka-sided, right-sided of late. There are lots of reasons for that. We've talked about that's a byproduct of Jesus being out. And his play with Martinelli. So that's led to Martinelli kind of hitting a plateau. And we talked about is Martinelli tired? Is he missing his partner in crime? Because Jesus liked to drift out to that side and work with him the way that Odegaard works on the other side with Saka. But this, and then with Zinchenko tucking inside, it's been a frustrating time for Martinelli. And we talked about this, Sam, at the beginning, of just his composure at the end. He'd come on and actually had done some good work, but I don't think any of us would faulted him if he had taken the shot, tried to create the shot for himself rather than laid it off to Jorginho. But several parts to this. He got some help. Let's start with the match. Let's start with Fabio Vieira, who comes in for Granit Xhaka. That's another, I think, antidote that people are talking about. Granit is part of this kind of the left side fading. He seems to be a little overworked because he's played in every match. Vieira didn't play long, but he's been playing more and more and more in recent matches, getting more time for Odegaard, and it's clear Arteta trusts him more. I want you to comment on this and then talk about what his role might be going forward. We'll start here, exploring the left side. But I saw a clip from behind Ramsdale, from behind Arsenal's goal, of the fourth goal that came off the corner. And it's not clear when you see it from the sideline camera, but the width, just how wide Vieira took the ball to create a channel for Martinelli, who's running up the middle. And you can see that pass, it looked perfectly weighted on television, but when you see it from the back, you see how far it had to go. That went 30, 40 yards. That was it's not just that it was time, but it had to travel an incredible distance. This is a man, again, it's late and it's perfect timing for this. He seems to be growing in to the lineup at just the right time.
Yeah, so this brings me on to something that I love about Fabio Vieira, is that his ability at creating angles for other people to then find the pass, then have the clear run-ins. With Vieira, he's very clever in the way that he creates his angles, the way that he moves and manipulates the ball to a certain point and then releases it. Because you think about some of the playmakers that we've had in the past, they're very direct. I would say that Vieira is passive-aggressive in his directness, because he'll go wider, but then he'll hit that killer ball that will be that direct ball through to through to a striker, through to a winger, running through on goal. And when he's in and around the box, he will play the little 1-2s. He, like Odegaard does, he will pick out players. He's got that eye of a needle pass, something that we sometimes lack if Odegaard isn't there. And do you know what? With Xhaka being, I think he's been a bit tired for the last couple of games, to be perfectly honest. Allowing Vieira to come in to the left-hand side, that then gives Martinelli a bit more, because we've all seen the synergy between them two off the field as well. And that only creates positive relationships on the pitch. And these guys know exactly where they're going to be at any given point. And if Vieira's coming in on the left-hand side, what I've tended to notice is Zinchenko's coming in far too narrow. That then congests the space that Granit was in, and then that leaves Martinelli isolated, because Granit's then going in advance or going even further in. But if Vieira's there, if Zinchenko comes in, Vieira, I believe, has that tactical nuance about him to drift out a bit wider, to then give that angle to Martinelli, to then receive it off Martinelli, play into Odegaard, play into Eddie, to Jesus, and it gives the opposition a bit more to think about. Because then, do they put a midfielder wide left, wide right, or wherever it is, to try and combat that, or do they stay in the shape? And if they stay in the shape and give Vieira the time to pick out a cross, pick out eye of needle pass, to their detriment. So I think he is one that's going to be possibly featuring more in the Europa League. But we said that, well, I've always said this year is always going to be a transitional year for him, and we'll see the true Fabio Vieira next season. But we've seen glimpses throughout the season, and he's only just going to get better from here.
Now, I'm going to stay with you. MJ, I'm going to do the complement to that, because we want to talk about Emile Smith-Rowe in a moment and where he fits into all this. But I'm going to stay with you. You're saying, would you keep Vieira on the left side? There's a lot of talk that let's start him there for Granit, but even as just a rotational player for Granit, or as you said, the occasional starter, is that where you see him right now, getting in the short term, kind of what we call the left 8, if Odegaard's the right 8?
I would say so, yes. For me, yes, Vieira has got the skill to be out on the wide right, which we've seen before, but he lacks any pace to get down the wing, beat a player in that respect. I don't think he's as effective, but if he's able to come in, dictate play, then yeah, for me, he's a no-brainer for the left 8. And I believe when he was at Porto, he was playing in that 8 position for a fair bit anyway. But yeah, for me, his skill set and the way that he likes to play the game, I think that left 8 is a rotation, his position. But then again, in the summer, that could all change. But I'm sure we'll talk about that a bit later.
All right, so MJ, going to tee this one up for you, because if we put Vieira on the left, it raises the question. Emile Smith-Rowe is training now. We've seen him a lot in clips. He possibly, I think he was on the bench, could have featured in the Villa match, but it's about time for him to feature. And I was talking to other fans about this. How much he's become out of sight, out of mind, and yet you look back that this is a player who got 10 goals last year. Mm-hmm. And he offers something that Arsenal desperately needs, which is somebody in the midfield with a nose for the goal. He's not afraid. He can hit it at distance. He can hit it with strength, but he's just got this touch. He hits these, what I call off speed, where he kind of like these slow balls that just kind of freeze the keeper. He can smack it off the post. He can roll and just kind of half speed it by you, but he knows how to score. Now, if Vieira is working on the left side, where do you put him? It seems, because that's a position where you think naturally for him. But I think back to last year when he played a lot. When he came off the bench, Arteta used him as a rotation for Odegaard on the right.
Yeah,
and kind of put him and Saka on the same side.
Yeah, it's going to take a few games to figure out where we see Emil Smith-Rowe, because I think, majority of last season, you're thinking, him and Martinelli are going to share that role. And then Vieira came in, and then Vieira's maybe Odegaard's cover. And then now Vieira might long-term be taking the left eight. Where does Emil Smith-Rowe? He's going to be one of those multi-position players. He's a very clever player, as you say. He's going to know how to handle the pitch wherever he is, because he's just so two-footed. He knows his angles. There were a few games in the left eight. He did get a couple of opportunities where maybe it didn't quite work out for him. But now the system's a little bit more refined. There's better players around him now that if you were to put him in any of the central positions, he'd be okay. It's going to take a few games to know what his plan is long term. But he's going to be that very useful player in the squad. And I hope his injuries are behind him as well, because he's going to be a very important player. Because I think in April, we've got I think it came out earlier, we've got quite a few games in a 3 week period, haven't we? So
like 7 matches in like a 3-week period. Yeah. And they're coming really fast. And, stay with that, though, because we have rotation. We talked about it by then. When that heavy glut comes, he should be ready. Vieira, again, if nothing else, should be at the point where you can count on for 30 minutes if you need him, maybe a half. And then Gabriel Jesus is back. And so it's not just, oh, look at this wealth of options. That rotation now, it's a necessity, is it not?
Yeah, and it's going to test Mikel Arteta's man management of his squad. I think some of the themes in the last few games where we've gone through this little slump has been, is he going to make changes? Is he going to rotate? But now we're going to have to see that in the April period when the Europa League comes back and those sort of double game weeks come back. Who's going to come in? Who's going to get minutes? Who's going to not start? Does Jorginho now take part Israel? I don't think he does. I think Partey will come straight back in once he's fit. But yeah, all of these players are going to be hungry for minutes. Mikel's going to be tested for his man management. But I can't wait to see Gabriel Jesus. Some of the videos are just recycling back on the timeline of what he did for us. I can't believe I took him for granted so quickly, but he's going to be an exciting player to bring back. And just on Fabio Vieira, he's going to get more and more minutes. And I think maybe this is what Mikel's been planning him for. His quotes from about a month ago where he's now used to the system. He's now used to the squad, how to be. He looks really settled in now just from the off-the-pitch clips. If you guys saw the Frimmy video that he did, the carpool karaoke, but the carpool video around the training ground, he seemed to be having fun with Frimmy in that video. So he's going to be, he's definitely going to be getting a few more minutes. Not sure where the next start will come from. If he does start this weekend, that'll be an interesting surprise. I think he probably does get my vote on that, but yeah, we're going to need all of our players when all these guys come around. It's good timing as well. All these players are coming back at the right time.
I'm going to let you pick at that one a little bit too, because Sam, because when you've got Odegaard, Xhaka, now Smith-Rowe and Vieira, before it was those two, because it was Odegaard and Xhaka because, well, as we said many times, when it was working, what changed it? But it's hit a dry patch, and hopefully the club has come out of it. But the team is now starting to hit, a certain point. A lot of matches, you're starting to see a lot of miles on some of these players' odometers. How would you work it? How would you finesse it? I mean, when we left, you were talking about Vieira kind of settling in the left, but what are you going to do with Smith-Rowe?
The glorious thing about Smith-Rowe, as MJ said, is he's the, I don't want to label him as a utility player now, but he's got the ability to play across the front three. He's got the ability to play as a left eight, no doubt as a right eight. So again, we can have that rotation with Granit Xhaka, with Martin Odegaard. Some games he can give us that flexibility off the bench, because if what I used to find when Smith-Rowe used to come in for the number 10 slot over Odegaard, you didn't get the passing that you get from Martin Odegaard. With Smith-Rowe, you get a player running at the defence, a player that would then slip the ball off to then try and receive it, break a team down that way. So he gives us, I think he gives us more direct running from the inside of the pitch. again, he can rotate with Martinelli, with Saka. So again, that gives them some rotation. Trossard, he can again rotate with Martinelli, also Saka. So it gives us a lot of variables and a lot of different options across the pitch. So yeah, with Smith Rowe, I don't think we're going to see an immediate. Oh yeah, he's going to play here. I think it's going to be one game here, one game there, a filler, so to speak, until maybe he's completely over his injury worries, where he really nails down a position. But I think that he needs to prove his fitness second half of the season, especially over the next month, because that's going to be crucial moving into April.
MJ, one last swing at that, because Sam brings up a point. Again, my son was mentioning to this when we were talking about how much people have forgotten Emile Smith-Rowe's game, is that if he's not the best dribbler on the squad, he's one of the best dribblers on the squad, and this ability to attack and just beat you one-on-one. And let's bring Trossard into this, because this was his first start. We're getting a look at him and like, how does he gonna fit in? But he's another player that likes to take you on and can beat you taking you on. And it just is the addition of these players now giving Arteta something that he really hasn't. I mean, we all also know what's to pass through you in the old Wenger style, but they have that. It just seemed that there's that other plan B. The more I'm going to put on guys that can just run at you, and I'm going to try to beat certain squads that way, just with pace and dribbling.
Yeah, I talked about this in a separate piece of content where there's an example where Pep Guardiola, I think it was in the Champions League about a year ago, or maybe 2 years ago, and they were playing Atletico Madrid at the Etihad. I think it was the first leg, and they set up in a really low block. They had numbers. It was hard to get through. City had very little chances, and Phil Foden had come off the bench in the second half. And within 10 minutes, he was attracting players to him. And it was starting to open up these spaces. And I think it was either Mahrez or De Bruyne. He made it 1-0 literally from one of those movements. So I think having these variation of players where either Trossard, I think we get to see a little bit more from him, Emile Smith-Rowe, any decent level of dribbling ability to just bring players towards you to open up a hole, that's going to be one of those ways. Beat one
man and just let the dominoes fall, right?
Exactly, that's right. And it just opens up another avenue, or it brings a fullback towards you, or a centre back, or the CDM of the opposition. These clever players that know how to bring you out of your position, and then it's just made space, which is something Gabriel Jesus is really good at. And there's plenty of examples of him just doing it by himself, where he's just brought 4 players towards him, wins a foul, or he's just managed to get through, even carved a shot out for himself. I think for him, it's carving out a shot. So there's going to be a variation of styles there. It seems like we've created some of these different styles over the season. Recently, Jorginho seems to be a more possession-based style. Every time he gets the ball, either the fullbacks are now making those run-ins now, or Odegaard and Xhaka are going to fill those half spaces. Maybe now when Emile Smith-Rowe comes in and now Trossard's in, we're going to see a bit more, okay, we can't break these guys down. Just attract them towards you. Let's make an opening there. So there's a few different options now, and it's quite exciting to see. And it'll be good to see Emile Smith-Rowe back and just doing his sort of graceful glide, the very first one that he does, whoever that game is against.
All right, now let's go back to Jorginho and his he's the understudy. Obviously, he hasn't taken Thomas Partey's role, but I think we're all relieved, Sam, at how well he has performed in Thomas Partey's absence, because we had so little notice before City that Partey was going to be out. I think people panicked, and rightly so. Partey, when he's on and he's healthy, is an outstanding player. But kind of two parts to this. Some talk that the club's going to be very cautious against Leicester this weekend, that if Partey's not 100%, they'll go back to Jorginho. But this brings up a nagging quality of Thomas Partey's game, which is he's missed. If you look at his time at Arsenal, when he's there, he's great, but he's often not there.
Yeah, it's a real disappointing one, really, because you think if we had Thomas Partey last season, last season when he got injured. That's probably top 4 there. If we've had him through this period where he's been injured, you're probably thinking maybe 5 to 8 points clear. But it's all if buts and maybes. With Partey, we know that he does have injury and muscular issues. I still think that's coming from the league. I don't think that's the most demanding league coming to the Premier League with the style of play that we play. I think that's very demanding on the legs, on the muscles, and I think that's always going to be a problem. But then you take into consideration El Neni. He played through a really bad injury, made that worse, so he's out for a very long time. Jorginho, he gives us something different. We know how Arteta likes the passing game, and we know if you want to put the two of them up, Partey and Jorginho up against each other, they're both very similar in the range they're passing. Obviously, Partey's got the physicality, but I think there was a phrase Arteta used this season: "death by 1,000 passes." And with Jorginho, you'll get that because his tactical awareness is superb. The way that he comes in, demands the ball, coaches people off, shouts at them to go one way, goes the other. It's refreshing to see, and to see the team respond to that so nicely as well. So he slotted straight in, and it's been good to see. But if it's the straight shootout between Partey and Jorginho, I'm putting Partey back in.
All right, now, MJ, we're going to give you a longer term. Let's take Partey, Jorginho, but let's stretch it out. Rumors today, and rumors for some time, but they really kind of erupted with ferocity today, that Arsenal have closed a deal. They have to wait till the summer window, but they're kind of closed the deal on acquiring Declan Rice. And this is he's been a target. We've seen it. We've been talking about it. You go back to October, when Arsenal plays West Ham and the match is over, and he and Mikel Arteta embrace, and there's clear respect. Stories in the press that he knows Arsenal players. He's asking what it's like over there. I don't think it's any secret that the fan base covets him, and I don't think it's any secret that the club covets him. But now it looks, we've been hearing rumors that talks have been advanced, and now it seems like it's all a matter of just keeping it in a safe until you can announce it. Let's say there's fire with that smoke. We know El Neni signed an extension today that was announced, but we know that was more just out of professional, I don't want to say courtesy, but it's professionalism on Arsenal's part, giving him a chance to rehab a long-term injury that probably wouldn't let him play in the best of circumstances until November, December of this year. It's just it's a reward for his good work, let's say. So we started the season with Partey, El Neni, and
Sambi, probably.
Sambi, thank you. So you've got those three in that order, and now it looks like in the summer, Sambi just seems to be somebody who either needs to be sold or loaned. But with Jorginho playing the way he does, let's say Rice comes in. What do you do? Is Partey there? Are those the three? Or with Partey's injuries, I mean, he's so good, but he's starting to get on a little bit in age. Might you look, we talked about Casado in the January window. If Arsenal goes really big for the midfield, is this the opportunity, the window? Everybody assumes Xhaka's going to be the guy out. But is this the time where you sell, or you consider, I'm just playing pie in the sky here, devil's advocate, where you consider selling a Thomas Partey if you're able to get two targets of that caliber?
I probably wouldn't sell Partey because Champions League football is coming back, and we're going to need as much quality as we can find. Selling Partey, probably not, but I don't think. Well, I mean, when's his contract due? Probably another year, maybe. Maybe this is his only contract, isn't it? So no, but midfield is going to be. It has to be resolved now in the summer. I think we've sort of chanced it a bit in the last couple of summers where we didn't get a decent enough cover for Partey. I think that would have been fine in the top 4 race in the stage that we were at. But now that we've closed the gap so much, we can't go into another season where Partey is. We're relying on the fitness of Partey, and I think everyone knows that. I think let's see with the Declan Rice thing. I think there's a lot of reports, isn't there? And then on the names of Zubimendi, and then maybe if Caicedo comes back, who knows? But midfield needs a huge investment. I think that's probably going to be the main focus of attack for the summer. And then in that way, we've got 3 really good quality players for different styles. We've got Partey, we've got Jorginho, and then TBC, Declan Rice. That's a really good long-term plan. And I'm of the view that we need to have his successor or replacement now in the summer, because as good as Partey is, his fitness issues it's really frustrating now. And we've needed him in a lot of these games. A year ago, probably, we know what stage we're at of our process. But now, Champions League football's coming back. Maybe another title race, who knows, next season. So we need to have these players always fit. And they used to always go back to the Liverpool team that did so well. I know they only had 1 Premier League title and a Champions League to show for it, but all of their players were always fit. Your Salah, your Manes, your Robertsons, your Trents, they were always fit. The key players that got them going. Partey is part of the core of what gets us going. And yeah, I see us solving that issue in the summer. I think we'll definitely see the end of that story now, that Partey problem. But I'd still keep him around, let him finish his contract. If he stays on, he stays on. But he'll be a very good piece of depth if Partey gets displaced. In theory, he'd be a brilliant bit of depth. So we're gonna have some options, and then who knows what happens to Sambi. I don't see a future for Sambi, unfortunately. So I don't know if he's played any games yet. I don't think he has he?
Not in a while. I think the last match he played was the second half of City in the FA Cup. Sam, I'm going to let you try. A lot of names there. Let's throw Rice in the mix. How would you sort it out? Do they still need to go for a second option? Are they going to look at a Zubimendi? Are they going to look at a Caicedo? What do you do with Sambi? And what do you do? What is the future for Thomas Partey? If you have cover, if you have a rotation player, is that the ideal role for him? You don't have to rely on him so much. You don't have to stress him so much. I mean, we do have to talk about the fact. I mean, it's in our podcast. It's in our, he's had legal issues too, which scared the pants off the fan base at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, just on that legal issues, I'm not going to comment on that because I don't think that's what we should be doing, considering it's an unnamed player. Right. Obviously, people can make their own assumptions of that, but in regards to the summer, if we were to get Declan Rice in, that's a long-term replacement for a 6, also a good replacement for an 8. If Caicedo was able to come in as well, that's again another good option in a 6 or an 8, and you can have the 2 play together. There's a lot of cover in there. Again, it's combative, it's a loss of energy, and it's physicality as well. It also gives us that ability to step on 5 yards and really pin teams in, and even if they try and manage to get out on the transition, have that speed and recovery to get out, to retrieve the ball and to get them back. So I think that, as MJ said, the midfield is going to be the main focus in come the summer, and fingers crossed it's done early doors. But as we know, with the teams in the Premier League, there's going to be a lot of competition for said players. You've got Liverpool that need to overhaul their midfield. No doubt United are going to be looking at it. Chelsea's just going to do Chelsea things and just chuck money at it. Right. City probably need to upgrade their midfield as well, because some of their players are getting old. It needs a bit of refresh. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of teams shopping in the same pool. But I think given where we are, project that we're on, manager, there's a lot of plus points for us. But one thing that we've got to say is that there's a lot of options out there. So I think Rice, he probably given his word to us, given the reports that have come out, and I don't think there's no smoke there. I think there's a lot of fire burning deep. But yeah, it's one of them ones where we're just gonna have to see what happens. But there's a lot of football to be played between now and then.
All right. You brought up an interesting point that I want to bring it back up again, because people talk about, you know, the Arteta meme has gotten the rounds, and whether he's being respectful, whether the club is being disrespectful. But this brings in something we talked about a couple of weeks ago, that traditionally, going back to the Wenger days and early on with this club, the book on Arsenal is kick them around. I mean, this clears to be continued with Saka, partly because of its brilliance, but knock them around, see if they can handle it. And we've talked about the fact that this is become a far more physical club, MJ. And the names that, and the point that Sam makes that I think is worthy of more attention, is that it does seem the final phase of the build, certainly in the midfield, is we've seen it with the back line with Gabriel and with Saliba, and there's size there, and with Kiwior just coming in, he's a big boy. He wants pace, he wants skill, but he wants some muscle, some grit to this team. That seems to be the final piece if I'm looking at these names.
Yeah, and it's going to be reminiscent of, I guess, the side that made up the Invincibles. The whole idea of, if you're standing next to them in the tunnel, you've already known, they're up for it because of their size. And I'm all up for that. I think, yeah, we also went through the phase of the Cesc phase, where maybe the players were a little bit more nimble, a little bit more clever. So I welcome that. I think the more physical, technical players, yeah, bring it on, because I think our system requires it as well, in terms of higher line, higher turnover, sorry, more sprints. It seems like a very physical system that we play, and it requires that type of profile. So, and then you mix it in with the guys like Fabio Vieira, so you'll have a couple of technical players in there. So we're going to have a really nice balance if that's the direction we're going in. I'm just keeping an eye on the Madrid score, and it looks like we're missing an incredible game at the moment. I don't know if you guys have seen the scores, but that's going to be coming back to the Emirates next year, I think. Hopefully not a 2-4 loss, but Madrid at the Emirates. Can you believe that? But yeah, a physical, a more physical team is going to be a really nice direction to go in, and Declan Rice fits that. That's the west where the fire is going. So bring it on.
All right. Another phase of this, Sam, I'll let you touch on. It seems that players on the Arsenal that were starters, that are now rotation players on the periphery of the starting 11, are now being coveted by other clubs. That seems to be the next, as we're adding to the talent base. It seems that one of the tactics we'll see is people might say, well, let's see if we can pry, kind of what we did to City this offseason. Rumors this week that Newcastle have their eye on Kieran Tierney. I think we're going to see more of this kind of story going forward. Maybe with players like Sambi, I think fans wouldn't be so upset. But there was a lot of pushback on the idea that, like, no, we can't let Newcastle come in and take one of them. He was one of our early players. Okay. Well, but maybe that'll be the final. We'll do a quick Leicester. But are we going to expect more of this?
I think in terms of the more rotational players, as this project evolves and goes on, I think that they will be our cash-in points, and that's always going to be organic. As we go forward, there will be these players that will become obsolete. But yeah, I think that's all a part of the plan in the long term. Tierney, he might fall into this as much as I wouldn't like it, because I think he gives us something a bit different. It then makes us look at alternative points, and then I think that you can start pinpointing the players that go into that cycle, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and although you bring it up, as much as we don't like it, they are still looking at right backs, and And people say, well, we don't have a lot of right backs, but it could be that we know Tomiyasu can play on the left side. So maybe that is part of the thinking. Maybe Tierney isn't too crazy. But we're getting into injury time here on the pod. Let's wrap it up. We haven't talked about the upcoming match, but club gets a breather after playing the midweek game, a couple midweek games. They go up to Leicester City. They go away. Very up and down Leicester squad. You really, as we were saying before we started the pod, you really don't know what Leicester you're going to get. They do seem capable of scoring goals, but they also seem very capable of conceding them. With Arsenal having hopefully its head screwed on straight and it's exhaled and it's relaxed, and it feels, they have to have a lot of confidence coming out. MJ, very quickly, quick summation and a prediction.
Prediction, well, back to winning ways. I think we're going to get a nice 3-0 and a clean sheet, let's say. I think the Leicester, they've got some very good individuals. You never know what they're going to do, but you could see against the Man United game, they did really well to create a lot of chances, but they didn't take any. But also they were playing a midfield of no Casemiro and Sabitzer only, and with someone else. So we'll have a better setup for that, and I don't think we'll concede that many chances, but looking forward to it, and I think it's going to be a good game. And I think set pieces might win this particular game. I think, and again.
Okay, Sam, what's your final word on the Leicester match?
Quite similar. I don't know what you're going to get from Leicester, but I think that if we hit them early, then it'll be game over. I think that we can probably hunt them for 4. I think this is going to be one that it's going to be a big win point where we're able to get a couple of quick early goals and then be able to then bring on like the Smith Rowes, the Vieiras, give players a bit of a rest. I could probably see us making a little bit of a rotation, but I think that we've got more than enough to get a big win against Leicester.
Score? I may have missed it. Did you?
I'm going to go 4-0.
4-0. Okay. All right. I'm going to be a little more conservative in the final number, but I'm going to agree with you. Arsenal's been very good at jumping on clubs, even when they weren't getting the results they wanted. First 15 minutes of matches, getting a lot of chances, pinning their opponents back. This week, I see them actually getting the first goal rather than falling behind as they have recently in the last 2, and then using that to kind of pull away. I see them pulling, as you said, 3. I'll say 3-1 as a final with a concession goal after they've got Leicester pretty much running tired. So, all right, unanimity. The good times are back. Thank you all out there in Pod World for joining us for this edition of Daily Gooner Pod. We're going to sign off again evening. We look for a good result, and we look to see you all again. Look for us online, Daily Gooner blog online. You see for MJ, for Sam, I'm Raphael. You can see our Twitter handles below us. For our friends who will be here, hopefully for the next pod, we bid you all a good night.